Greetings, War Thunderers. This is Longshot with you again. And in this video I'll be reviewing the Japanese A5M4 made by Mitsubishi, which was an early war and actually pre-war all metal construction monoplane with fixed undercarriage, known for its excellent manoeuvrability. It was also one of the fastest monoplanes that had been designed at the time. It saw heavy combat in China, mostly against either pea shooters, which the Chinese had purchased from America, and also the Russian I-16s, against which it was pretty evenly matched. Having a look at the plane, it has the typical zero-shaped wing. This was an ancestor of the A6Ms, of course. And the wings are quite wide and quite long, which will give this a low wing loading, and therefore excellent manoeuvrability at the cost of speed. Its armament is only two 7.62mm machine guns in the nose, which is quite light, but then again this is on a very similar battle rating to reserve planes, most of which have the same armament. Now we'll just put it through its paces. Its roll speed. Now at a cruising speed of about 350 km an hour IAS, its roll speed is fair but not great. Certainly way slower than a biplane. I'll just put it into a climb, and this plane is an extremely willing climber. Like all Zeros, it's very light. It just likes to leap up in the air as fast as its engine will take it, and this is a very steep climb angle with no great speed to begin with. And yet I'm still up an easy 600 meters before I level out, and he says I'm right down to quite a low speed before I get any kind of critical stall warning. And at this speed the roll rate's a bit better. Now I'm just going to put it into some loops and see what the elevator is capable of. They're only doing in the mid 200 km an hour range. I'm just going to go straight up and over, and it's easily performing the loop. Not even a hint of stalling or hesitation at the top of the loop. So its elevator response is great, and the lightness of the plane lets it loop very easily. But the rudders, not quite as good. It's taking a long time to perform a rudder turn, and it's losing a lot of altitude while doing so. So I would not recommend performing pure rudder turns in this plane. It will slow it down a lot. I'll just climb back up to a bit of altitude again. If you combine both rudder and elevator together, you can see the elevator dominates. Doesn't take the plane much off the vertical, but that extra addition of rudder makes the turn quite a bit quicker. And I hardly lose any speed in the turn. In fact, I think I've gained some. Let's throw the plane on its side, and we'll see what the elevator does, just in a pure horizontal turn. Full 180 in very quick time. Sorry, that was a 360. Didn't lose a great deal of speed, probably about 60 km an hour. I'm just going to deploy the landing flaps, and we'll put it through some maneuvers with those involved. Firstly, the loop. The plane slows right down and doesn't reach over 300 km an hour again, so there's been a definite difference there. And I can't see any real change in its turning speed. All that's really changing here is the speed of the plane. Now starting this at 240 km an hour, and by the time I finish this maneuver, we're right down to 160. So what the landing flaps do is basically just act as a brake. And because the plane handles really well at low speeds, if you need to slow the plane right down, maybe to dogfight someone who's coming in at high speed but wants to slow down, or basically just to force an overshoot, then that's the way to go. But otherwise, it doesn't make you turn any faster. Anyway, I'm in a dive. I'll see what happens to its handling when we hit some pretty high dive speeds. It's not going that fast, mid 500s, and it still rolls fairly well. It doesn't lock right up like Zeros tend to. Its basic response to rudder and elevator is still very good. It's very unusual smoke patterns there. And I'll just try the elevator. We're still going well over 400 km an hour, and its elevator response is fine. So at high speed this plane can certainly dogfight. Well, it's time to take it to battle. First thing I've done here is climb. This is a biplane map, and this is typically what I do whatever the plane is that I'm flying. Get some altitude and make my first attack a diving boom and zoom run. Also lets me get right behind the enemy lines as I've done here. People don't expect to be attacked from back here. So he managed to dodge away. Just going to climb and reset. The reason I'm being so conservative, despite seeing what the plane was capable of in a test flight, is that when I was flying the Heinkel 51 in a recent video, I had no trouble at all fighting people flying this plane. Shot down quite a few of them, in fact. So I'm thinking that despite the plane's excellent maneuverability against biplanes, it's at a big disadvantage, and I'm better off using its energy capabilities because it's capable of greater speeds and greater climb speeds than most biplanes. But obviously what this will do is keep me out of the battle for large periods of time. It's not as if I have alpha weapons capabilities to take them down in brief passes like that. I've looked around to make sure that I'm isolated here. Set that guy alight. And because I was isolated, I was happy to come back and give that guy another shot. And then I'm climbing again. So there you go, first kill flying it for this video. So just repeating the same thing, I've climbed up, I'm doing another dive on a target that appears to be isolated. And I'm going to follow and extend this dive because he's flying nice and straight. And there we are, nice kill, and a snapshot on the way out. But I'm not going to follow his turn. Taking a moment to look around in the climb. Now I'm getting a little bit more ambitious. There's a few planes down here. And I'd better avoid that biplane on my team who's swirling around. That's a team kill ram waiting to happen. And just climbing and seeing what's going on. This guy is a bit far away from the Ki-10 that's chasing him, so seemed to be a good idea to swoop down on him rather than the other two biplanes. And assist, that's okay. But what I'm doing back here is I found myself just basically sweeping up the crumbs well behind my own lines, which is what everyone else is doing. I'm not really involved in the battle yet. I'm certainly not pushing this plane as far as it can be pushed, but I'm taking a slowly approach. And it's probably a good idea to begin flying the plane using energy tactics to begin with, just to find your feet. And that was a shameless kill steal on my part. Someone else had set that guy alight. Anyway, so although I've got 3 kills here with minimal risk, I'm not happy with my involvement. And I've flown back over the battle, and now I'm looking to get more directly involved in what's going on. I don't want to be just snipping around the edges while everyone else actually fights out the battle. But here I've got a bit of indecision. I can't work out when to dive in, which can plague you sometimes if you're flying above and you're just not sure how to engage. And at some point you just have to bite the bullet. That's what I decided to do here. I see those 2 planes in the distance, the P-26 and the Ki-10, both vectoring in on a single plane on my team. Okay, the Ki-10's bailed off, so just the P-26 now. It's hard to do much damage from that angle. I'm not looping straight over onto him, I'm just coming back out and having a look around because I'm still playing conservatively. Right, time to come back for another run. Never hurts to look around. Just hit there and then extend away towards these 2 guys. F2A's killed himself, that leaves the I-15. Don't want to head on against an I-15, they have too many machine guns. But there I employ for the first time the elevator capabilities. See how quickly they just looped up and over onto his tail. And again. And that's how to turn with this plane. You don't turn horizontally. Oh, it's capable of it, but it bleeds a lot of speed. Whereas if you perform elevator turns in the vertical, that speed's converted into height, which you can then convert back into speed again when you dive. That's a combined elevator and rudder turn to avoid this next I-15, and then another elevator and rudder turn. I thought he might have been wanting to dogfight me, but he's got ground targets in mind. With any luck? No luck on this occasion. Could have easily been a kill there. This game's quickly winding to an end. Ooh, wow, that was close. I have landing flaps deployed here because kind of forgot that they don't really help my turning abilities. And as you can see, it's not helping me reel that pea shooter in at all. I would have been better to have left them raised. So in this next battle, this is not a biplane map. And that means things are more spread out, which means you will get a lot more occasions when there are planes that you can attack all by yourself, without either other enemies or allies interfering. And you can learn to fly this plane as it should be flown. So this is a Gladiator, which is a very nimble biplane. And I am not going to slow down. I'm not going to sit on his tail and try and follow him horizontally. Instead, I'm just going to make use of the plane's capabilities in the vertical to make repeated passes on him. And between each, I'm just going to loop up and over. Now mind you, he's not dogfighting me, he's intent on shooting up armoured cars, which makes it a bit easier, but he was turning around pretty sharply nonetheless. It's always a crying shame to see such a good dogfighting plane used in that manner though. I suppose B-17 pilots have to come from somewhere. So on this particular map, there's this area with the kind of land bridge there, which nearly always attracts quite a few fighters coming in to either shoot up the ground targets or shoot the planes who are shooting the ground targets. So it's a good place to hang out and patrol. You'll get a lot of activity over here. I'm waiting for the second plane to arrive, and then I'm diving in onto his tail. It's not easy getting much damage from over 400 meters with these guns. You have to get nice and close. Okay, I've overshot, just going to pull up into a high yo-yo. Roll the plane around, ready for the next pass. Then the same again. Okay, some friendlies are joining in. I'd better get a move on if I want to get this kill. That's a nice attacking pass, and from close range I send him a light, which with a Heinkel 51 usually means a very quick death, and that's no exception. But a burning pea shooter on the other hand, like that one, often survives quite some time, made of tougher stuff perhaps. So I'm not going to drop down there. There's 3 odd enemies or so on him, except his fire's out and they still haven't killed him, so maybe I'm needed after all. Okay, more bandits coming in, including an A5M who's on my tail. This is good. Up into an elevator turn. Bit of rudder to start it off, and just continuing that loop. And he's lost interest in me and moved on to someone else. That's fine, I'll keep hunting him down. And as always with his armament, you just got to keep patient, keep pecking away at them. I'm continuing to pull the plane up into the vertical on each of the turns rather than losing speed and slowing down to match his, because that gives me all the advantages in this dogfight. And down he goes. So having flown this way in the non-biplane map, I wanted to take what I learned into an actual biplane game and just step up the level of aggression. Now as before, I've climbed at the start, and this time I see a KI-43 up here with me, so he takes precedence. I've got to deal with him before even considering diving down on someone else. Now I don't want to go into a head-on, so I'm snap rolling. Bad time to hit the tab key. I really should map that to something else. I get myself a bit side on to the KO-43 there. I'm never going to beat him with a rudder turn, so I just loop up and over and turn it into elevator turning again, using the rudder to change my attitude a bit, and there we are, I've turned inside him. KI-43 is just not quite as good a turner. And he's not interested in pursuing this dogfight, he's just going to dive away. So I'll let him go, while keeping an eye on him to make sure he doesn't climb back up at me when I least expect it. And off to the left there is a plane flying all on his own, just keeping a last eye on the KO-43. He was gone now. Right, so I'm going to dive down on this isolated target. Speed climbing up into the mid-500s, and its handling is fine. But that's about as fast as you'll get this plane. Certainly fast enough for a biplane battle. And down he goes. Okay, just having a quick look while I have this speed, wondering what to do with it. And here's another target who's isolated himself. I'm just using elevator up into a loop, a bit of rudder to turn the plane round, and I'm nicely down onto his tail. Hitting him from close range, and I'm just basically performing the same maneuver over and over again. It really is quite simple. Whoops. Your teammates are your biggest danger in these games, they really are. Okay, that Heinkel seems to have escaped. Someone else coming in, looks like a gladiator. So just a bit of a climb, up and over, and then I can swoop down on him. And repeat exactly the same tactic. Just a series of loops, and then close range firing passes. If he wanted to dogfight me, which he doesn't obviously, he's shooting up ground targets, from his low and slow position there would be no way for him to actually manage to do so. If he tried to point his nose up at me, I'd fly rings around him and he'd stall. That's the advantage that a little bit of altitude and speed gives you. As it turns out, the gladiator didn't die, it was the Heinkel I shot at earlier. There we go, that'll do it. So that was 3 kills and a bit more aggression, a bit more involvement, but I was still patrolling defensive skies for the most part. But I wanted to step it up further. The plane's capable of more than what I've managed to do with it so far. I had basically a series of either 3 or 4 kill games, rarely dying, but rarely feeling like I was really on top of things or really influencing the outcome of what was going on. So in this last one, I've again climbed, exactly the same recipe. At the moment I'm looking to see if anyone's climbing up at me, which is what that F2A is doing. So I'm going to do a little bit of rope-a-doping here. Pretty sure he's stalled his plane out, so down I go. And how I wish I had cannon. He's floundering around, got some really good hits on in there. I'm just going to turn that speed straight back into a climb. I'm over enemy skies, can't afford to stay down there with a cloud of incoming planes. Now I'm just watching him. He still looks intent on climbing, so I can make another pass. No, he's thought better of it and he's dived away. So time to choose another target. That Fury's pretty high. And he's flying straight, so here we go. Again, a very nice attacking run. Didn't deal any significant damage, but I can loop around. I have enough altitude to be pretty sure that no one else is going to bother me. And while he keeps flying straight and ignoring me, I'll keep doing this. There we go. Okay, I've got someone else up here with me, a P-26. So I rudder an elevator turn, He's being chased down by the looks of things, but I'll drop down and help. And see how easily I'm turning inside him and straight onto his tail. But he's put his plane straight up into a bit of a stall. And ideally you want to get a bit of distance away from someone who does that. That lets you turn back and gives you room for the attacking pass at them. If you get too close, you just can't quite get guns on them. Okay, that's some nice kills to begin with. And I still haven't dived down to ground level. Though it looks like that's what's going to happen next, because the altitude is now clear and everyone else is grass cutting. So it's a matter of choosing the point at which to enter. And this I-15 off to the side of the battle looks like the prime target. But I'm not going to commit just yet. There's a friendly all over the back of that Heinkel 51. This Nimrod's unattended. I'll take a shot at him. I'm not too sure about pursuing him because I saw an I-15 out of the corner of my eye approaching from enemy lines. Didn't want him on my tail. So I was going off to the edge and suddenly I find myself in the middle of a furball and dropping right onto an I-15's tail. They're not quite as easy to kill as some other biplanes are. It looks like he's going to stall himself out nicely for me. That's 2 good attacking passes. Another vertical loop. And down he goes. 3 kills. And this time I feel like I'm actively taking a role. There's very little downtime. I'm pushing the plane to its limits in the dogfights rather than just flying off and resetting all the time. But still doing my best I can to look around and be aware of my surroundings to avoid getting jumped by multiple enemies. This guy's isolated, therefore he's the target. And down he goes. That's when people kill themselves for you. And basically I'm just following my nose here. Targets keep popping up in front of me. I have speed, I can catch them and take them on. You guessed it, climbing in the turn rather than turning sideways. Helicoptering Ishak. Yes please. On fire. And that should hopefully do it. Yes. And then dive straight down onto a Fury underneath. With this rapid succession of targets though, I'm kind of losing track of what's going on. I haven't had a chance to literally look around at all. And I'm getting a bit out of control. Break off from him, go off onto the isolated one again. These shooters die pretty quickly if you can hit them from the tail for long enough. I'd spend a bit long chasing this guy. He's just so tantalizing. And finally he rammed someone. I almost got rammed myself. So that's a bit of tunnel vision, showing I'm getting a bit kill hungry and losing my perspective on things. I managed to escape out of that. I've got a kill from somewhere. It's okay, I won't argue. Always preferring targets that are over my side of the battle and over theirs. Which one can I reach first? Probably the CR-42, except he's got someone else on his tail. So I'll just have a quick look around. Helicoptering in front of me. Have to take that bait. Come on. No. Okay, here's an enemy who's come in and I haven't seen him approach. Probably that I-15. And, oops, there we go. That's what happens when you lose a bit of situational awareness. But still, that was a 6-kill streak. If that hadn't happened, it could have easily been quite a lot more. So that's how to fly the A5M. It's an incredibly manoeuvrable plane. Keep its speed high. I don't recommend using landing flaps. Keep turning in the vertical. Don't get tunnel vision. Keep looking around and be aggressive. As far as my own record goes, before I started collecting footage for this video, it wasn't very impressive. 19 kills from 30 deaths. But after flying it this way for these videos, I've killed another 46 planes and died only 6 times. It really is a fun little plane, and it will certainly prepare you for later Japanese tone fighters and even energy fighters. All it needs is a new propeller. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.